So much. Right, so we move on now to our next session, our next panel discussion. But before we do that, we're actually going to have a short keynote sharing information, sharing insights, certainly about e-commerce. But before we do that, just let me tell you, our hashtag, as I said before, it is trending across Jordan and almost across the region as well. And guess what? Our Facebook Live feed, I've got the information from the company that's taking care of all that. In fact, we've got more than 2,000 people tuning in, and wherever you're tuning in from, welcome. We've got pretty much most of the countries across the MENA region, which are on the top there. So we've got Cairo, we've actually got Riyadh as a city as well, we've got Dubai, Abu Dhabi, but outside of MENA, we've actually got two areas that are actually trending, really trending almost more than a lot of the other cities in MENA. What cities do you think are actually tuning in with us right now? Any ideas? Starts with a T. It's far away. Tokyo. Who said Tokyo? Tokyo. You're absolutely right. So Tokyo, apparently there are lots of people. That's right. High five. There are lots of people from Tokyo tuning in right now. So whoever you are from Tokyo, welcome to Jordan, welcome to Amman, and pop down your comments as well. Also, after Tokyo, another country starting with A. Australia, that's right. So Australians, again, all the way over there in Australia, if you are joining us right now, thank you so much. Welcome to Jordan, welcome to Amman, and again, we'd love to see your comments as well. Okay, so we move on now to a gentleman who's, again, going to give you some more insights and more of a kind of overview report of e-commerce, certainly in the region as well. Please welcome to the stage the head of consumer research from Nielsen, Mr. Ragid Al-Masri.
Hello, everyone. Today, as mentioned earlier, I'll be discussing a topic that has been a hot topic for the past 10 years worldwide, which is e-commerce. E-commerce is actually growing throughout the years worldwide, and specifically in this region. I think in Europe and the US it reached sort of a saturation, so the future is for our region now for growth. Now, speaking about the region itself, let's look at Jordan, for example. Jordan has always been known as the pioneer when it comes to e-commerce. We saw a lot of very successful examples that actually reached millions and millions of dollars of worth compared to other, let's say, companies in the region. So today in this presentation, we're hoping to shed some light on the e-commerce here in Jordan, and just to see how it not evolved, how it's currently doing, and whether or not we're keeping up with the trends globally. So is e-commerce as big as the noise around it? Let's look at some global figures. E-commerce around the world has a yearly growth rate of 20%. They're expecting the worth of the e-commerce business as a whole to reach 4 trillion by 2020. But what about in Jordan? Is it actually is it doing that well? So what we did is we conducted a survey covering around 1,000 people here in Jordan to better understand the current behaviors of people when it comes to e-commerce. So the research design, mainly we covered males and females, aged 15 to 65, covering all social economic classes, focusing on internet users. It was conducted through CATI, computer-assisted telephone interviews. It was done via random sampling technique. It covered the whole Jordan, and the survey was conducted in end of August, early September. So now, e-commerce all starts with the internet usage. As mentioned in the previous session, the internet users reached 85% of the total population. as also mentioned by Mr. Janti, this was actually accelerated by the presence of smartphones. So basically, it helped really in increasing the number of internet users to reach 85. Now, out of these internet users, 89% of them, they use internet for social media usage, and 88% use it for internet browsing. Now, let's look at those e-commerce users. For e-commerce, anyone who did a booking or a transaction through internet, whether on his PC, on any internet-enabled device. The online shoppers in the past 1 year, actually for Jordan, it reached around 20% of the total internet users. But where is Jordan on the shopping map? Will Jordanian shoppers catch up? People do not only use internet nowadays for purchasing, they also use it to search for stuff. So basically now internet plays a very important role in the purchase decision making. 48% of Jordanians, of internet users, use the internet to check products before purchasing it. So basically they rely on the opinions and reviews of others, and even reading about the product before using it or purchasing it offline. Okay, given these indicators, we now sort of know that Jordan is on track when it comes to e-commerce trends. So who are our current online shoppers? Basically, we try to identify the profile of these people. Mainly, they are females, belong to the younger segment, residing in West Amman and to a lesser extent East Amman, and they are of higher income compared to other non-e-commerce users. Now let's look at more insights about the shopping in Jordan today. So, what drives them to purchase online? So we looked at the reasons that they actually that led them to purchase online, mainly because of the lower prices, followed by saves time and product availability. So it basically opened their horizon to a whole new world where they can find same products for cheaper prices, and it saves them time, and it gives them access to unavailable products in the market. Now let's look at, for non-users, what are the reasons for stopping them from being e-shoppers? As you can see from all these reasons, trust is the key currency. Basically, they're concerned about quality, product examination, and delivery errors. So if you look at the issues related to trust, you can see quality concerns, product examination, insecure payment, and difficulties in returning the products. It's all about the trust. So basically, maybe some rules that will actually control and organize this sector in terms of creating more trust from the consumer side would really help. So what are the products that are actually being purchased nowadays for e-commerce users? The highest percentage was for clothes, followed by beauty products. Mainly clothes. I think it's easier because once you know your size and you get used to the website that you're using or the platform that you're purchasing from, it's easier to do repetitive purchasing. For beauty personal products, most people are used to buying the same product, so it's easier if they find it online at a cheaper price. It's easier for them to actually purchase it. Now we asked the current e-commerce users about their preferences, whether they prefer to buy these categories online versus offline. So although garments or clothes had the highest percentage of people buying it online, online users still prefer buying it offline as the preferred method of purchasing it. We noticed that services had was the most often purchased online product category compared to others. Services, once you have the same service, it's easier for you to make the decision. Now we looked at where they actually purchased or do the e-commerce activity that they did. Now it's of interest to note that 36% reported that they buy it through social media platforms and pages. Now you can see that a lot of people are actually putting their products on social media because it's cheaper, it's easier to reach a large audience, and it actually helps them to better sell it. And it's also easier for the consumer to actually buy it compared to the 64% who buy it from official websites or platforms. Now, we looked at the trend versus last year when it comes to online purchasing, whether it has increased or decreased compared to the last year. 66% of the respondents mentioned that it increased compared to last year. When we looked at the percentage of how much it increased compared to last year, on average we have an increase of 59% compared to the previous year. Now, it sort of touch bases on the topic that we were discussing previously. As mentioned, people are still getting used to buying or purchasing online. So it's the vast majority of people prefer to actually purchase using cash on delivery, followed by credit card and debit card and internet cards. Now, we wanted to check the openness to shift from purchasing offline to online, or mainly to switch to e-commerce. We noticed that 2/3 are willing to shop online in the future. This was especially for people aged 15 to 17 and Class C, which shows that, similar to what they were saying, millennials are the future of e-commerce. Basically, at a certain point, they will stop using the traditional methods of purchasing and start actually using the digital solutions. So again, millennials are the future of the e-commerce currently. Now, we asked them, those who intend to actually start buying online in the coming year, we asked them about what are the items that they're thinking of purchasing. The highest percentage was for clothes, groceries, clothes, beauty products, and electronics or home appliances. So basically, this is some of the key results that we came across through our survey. Just thought of actually giving you a feel of how e-commerce is actually performing now in Jordan and how it's heading. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ragid. Right, so we move on to our panel discussion. A beautiful way to introduce the topic of what we have next and the panel discussion. Here, the next gentleman on stage, the moderator, somebody that I met 2 years ago, a very good moderator indeed, somebody that does a very similar job to me as well. Please put your hands together for the Managing Director of Mediascope, Mr. Zaid Nasser.
Nice to see you. Open the channel, please. Hello, everyone. Before I call on my panelists, everybody awake? We're going to have a very nice panel. Thank you for sticking around. So I want to invite, I thought you were going to invite them, Peter. No, okay, I'll do it. Well, anyway, so I need Anthony Long, George Sebastio, Ala El-Shewat, Hussein Dajani, and Faris Alami. Come on, guys. I think there's a naming strategy going on here. So you can all sit. George, nice to meet you. This is you. Cheers. Should figure it out, I'm sure. This is going to be a somewhat informal panel, okay? We're going to have a nice chat about e-commerce. Now, actually, تفضل Faris. So, to get ourselves started quickly. Yes, you can get to know each other if you want. After we're done, you can meet all these lovely gentlemen. I've been talking to them for a few days. All right, so I'm the sitting kind of moderator. Sorry about that, okay? So, to begin with, this panel is entitled, it's a big word, a redefined era of digital commerce and consumerism. But what it's basically going to be about is how consumers are changing and what it means to all of us. We have several lovely and distinguished speakers here with us today. So I'm going to start by introducing them one at a time. I had done the notes in a different kind of order, but that's okay. So I have Anthony Long. Anthony is from the United States. He's a marketing technologist who leads digital transformation, develops strategies and capabilities that drive commerce. That's excellent for a LinkedIn profile, by the way.
I would like to meet that person. He sounds like he might be kind of interesting.
I'm very impressed by Anthony Long. And he's a senior consultant for multiple clients, products, and most recently he's the global e-commerce capability lead for Kimberly-Clark. Kimberly-Clark creates thousands of products, right?
Yeah, all the things you consume at home.
Like over 100 years, maybe 140 years.
150.
Yeah, so that was a major transformation, helping Kimberly-Clark succeed in commerce. Next up I have Faris Alabi. Faris is from the United States. He's the founder and CEO of International Strategic Management. The website is myisminc.com. So you can like me later about this. He's a business advisor at the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses at Wayne State University and Babson College. And he's worked for many companies over the years. Major 5-star hotels, national marketing companies. He's lent his experience to wholesale and retail. And this is also where he can help us. And he's worked with startups in the e-commerce field. He's also run for mayor in the US, an Arab who ran for mayor once. But that's a story he can tell you in the break. Hussein, have you run for mayor anywhere? No, not yet. Maybe you will. You could be a mayor for marketing professionals in the region because you speak at all these conferences. So this is Hussein Dajani. He's a digital transformer, a doer. He's currently the general manager, customer experience and transformation for Nissan Motor Corporation. He covers the Middle East, Africa, Turkey, India. That's a lot of countries, Hussein. You're not married, right?
I'm not married.
No, that works then. You can, India, Turkey, here we come. No problem. Hussein has worked for agencies. He's been on the agency side for like 18 years and now he's on the client side. And he's seen both sides of the client struggle. You know, clients are struggling. They're trying to figure out how can we go digital, and the agency has to figure it out and the client has to figure it out, and Hussein brings these two things together. Next up is Ala Inshawat. Ala is a seasoned IT professional who's now turned into a fintech professional, right? Ala is now heading Zain Cash, and before that he was heading Dinarak, which is one of the most popular e-wallets in Jordan. Ala brings many years of experience in technology and in payments. And he'll be telling us much more. Actually, I'm going to read a little bit about something that Ala has done. He had 24 years of experience with large and medium-sized companies in management roles. He's also a project management professional. Ala is a doctor, but he doesn't like to be called Dr. Ala for some reason. You have a PhD, right? Yes. You should use it. You should say so. Next up is George Sebastio. George, I spelled it right. I'm pronouncing it right. It's George with a J.
Yes.
This is like originally Portuguese?
Yeah, originally born in Lisbon.
Okay.
Yes.
George has a lot of experience in the Middle East. He's been with us for a long time in the Middle East. He's been in Saudi Arabia for a long time. He was the chairman of the Bahrain IT Society. The Bahrainis voted for you to run their society. Good for you. He's a security specialist, blockchain specialist, digital warfare specialist, scary things like that. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see a lot of very serious conversations that George has been giving in conferences. He's currently with Huawei. He's the CTO responsible for cloud and for security. Very difficult job considering the mobile world we live in today. So, I took my 5 minutes of presentation. And now I'm going to get started. I just hope my iPad helps me out here a bit. I'll have you know that I have traditional backup, just in case. You know, this is, George, this is for you. Traditional backup, exactly. All right. So there you go. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Usually this happens to excited moderators. Anyway, so before we get started, we saw the beautiful numbers from Nielsen. Clearly, e-commerce is already here. They kept on saying, it's the future, but the future is here, isn't it? So, last year when Souk bought Amazon.com bought Souk, I wish it was that way around. It was $586 billion, and it was a statement. Afterwards, Noon was launched. They claim it's a $1 billion company. So something is happening in the region in e-commerce. Also, the age gap thing that they keep on talking about, how, particularly in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, we're still not seeing this in the Levant, but particularly in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, more than 60% of people in adult age have bought something online. And more than 70% are comfortable paying online through utility payment services like Zain Cash and like Dinaric and Info. So what does it all mean? So I'm going to get started first with my first discussion track. We want to talk about the digital transformation, what it means to each one of you specialists in your field. I'm going to start off with the middle of the panel, with Anthony. Tell me, Anthony, what has changed? What does this digital transformation in retail mean? How does the changing behavior of consumers impact retailers? What should they do?
Well, you know, there's a lot of money at stake in retail, and there's a lot of money at stake in retail having nothing to do with the product, having nothing to do with the store. It has to do with supply chain, has to do with all of the support functions that get an item onto a shelf. The notion of the digital shelf, and this was covered in Wired magazine a long time ago in the early days of Amazon, the notion of the long tail, the idea that your shelf is infinitely large, and what it comes down to is what a consumer is looking for and whether the consumer can find what they're looking for. And as the notion of online shopping grows and becomes even more popular, people are becoming more and more accustomed to not necessarily going to one kind of retailer in one kind of location to get it done. They're willing to spread their shopping out among a couple of different sources. And maybe they don't have to settle for what's on the shelf or what maybe isn't on the shelf.
So it's less loyalty. They're less loyal.
It breeds a lot of consumer disloyalty. Yeah, it really does.
And people want to buy any item. They want it to be available, which is why Amazon is so successful.
Yeah. And, you know, shopping doesn't have to be an event that takes time out of your day. You can be standing, I know everybody here has stood in line at an airport and you were shopping for something. Now, you may not have purchased it, but you have to divorce shopping from buying. Because when you're looking at your phone and you're looking at a store and you're looking for an item, you may not actually be in the market for that item. A friend of mine may send me a funny cat video, okay? I don't have a cat.
You know that YouTube is full of these cat videos.
They're crazy, but I don't have a cat, and so I send it to my aunt who doesn't have a cat, but I know that her friend is a cat fanatic. So she sends it to her friend, and now that friend is aware of a product relating to cats, and so I have inadvertently become a brand advocate.
Yeah, you have pushed cat food without knowing it.
And so you get to the bottom of what, you know, the challenge to retail is that the availability of information is so broad.
Yes. So this also means that these changing behaviors have an impact on the value chain, right, and the ecosystem as a whole, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
All right, and you're advising companies on this. You're telling them that they should embrace it.
You know, it's funny because the companies that I work with generally deal with consumer products, right? And they're not accustomed to this environment. They're not accustomed to the notion of the brand not necessarily being the most important thing that a consumer is looking for, or that retailer relationship is not necessarily what binds the consumer to their brand.
They think like Macy's, which you managed for a while. They think that the Macy's brand should be enough. People will come to us because we're Walmart or because we're Macy's, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Even in the Arab world, these big chains in the Gulf and Home Center and all kinds of stores, even internationals like Zara and the like, they can't depend on their name.
Yeah, they can't depend on their name, and that's a good thing, I think. I think it causes a retailer, it causes a brand to become smarter. They go about their business with more of a consumer focus than a supply chain focus. A company like Kimberly-Clark, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, all of them, they make their money by having more and more efficiencies in manufacturing and supply chain. Retailers, by the same part, do the same thing. They gain profit by increasing efficiencies, and the smartphone has taken all that and thrown it out the window.
Yeah, it's the mobile revolution at its best. Hussein, maybe you'd like to talk about the marketing side of this. Managing a brand might be a nightmare in this kind of, or might be an opportunity, right?
See, so we keep using the term digital transformation. I like to use it as a business transformation because
it's a business. It's an upheaval. It's an upheaval of business. Maybe you could bring the microphone closer to you, Hussein.
Yeah.
Now that's a nice voice, Hussein. Let's hear it.
Top down and bottom up. Gotta believe in what exactly you're trying to do. So, 2 weeks ago I was in Lebanon and I went to the mall. And honestly, I live in Dubai and I haven't been to a mall in about 2 years.
You're doing all your shopping online.
So I went to Lebanon and I went to Massimo Dutti. And I was looking for an item, I couldn't find it, and they're like, just give me a second. And they got out their iPhone, and they were looking whether they have the items. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh yeah, it's a tool which we built internally.
Storage. They have like a mobile tool for
Exactly.
for storage and logistics.
That's the first step. The first step is when the company itself is using this tool. The next step is when it's pushing it out to the consumer in order for the consumer to start using it. So knowing whether they have this in the database and then buying that product. So we're seeing, look, e-commerce is not anything new. We saw the video earlier about what's happening in Jordan with the police officer and paying for the fines and all of. E-commerce has always been there. It's just about, I think what's happening is now the pace is increasing because of when the economies start going down. This is when businesses start looking at new avenues for them
For
to
efficiencies and for savings.
Exactly, to start selling and decreasing their costs.
You're supporting Anthony on that then. It's an
Absolutely,
efficiency.
100%. So again, so digital transformation is happening. Are we late in the game? Yes, we are, very much so.
You mean in the MENA region we're late, or the Levant region? Or?
No, the MENA region.
The MENA
All
region
of
as
it,
a
we're
whole.
late. Yeah, even Dubai, we're late in it.
Really? In Dubai?
Of course.
The hub of Arab e-commerce.
So again,
Why is that?
I just want to pinpoint at something interesting here. When you say you want to jump on e-commerce, it's not about just putting this button of buy. It's about ensuring that from the second this consumer comes to your website or your portals and decides to and browses through your products and services and then decides to buy that product, all the way till that product reaches you at home, the experience is seamless. And right now, still, the experience is not seamless. There are a lot of loopholes in it. So we still have a lot of work to work on it from the back end, as in from companies' point of view, and then from a front end, as in the interface with consumers, and what are their expectations from the brand when they're engaging with e-commerce, all the way till the product reaches them.
So that's your business transformation point, that they have to transform the whole business, starting from logistics, storage, everything.
Absolutely. So just to go to your point, and you were telling me Dubai, really. So in Dubai, we're hearing about a lot of companies that are jumping on e-commerce, but yet how many of them are actually delivering on that promise is the big question. So yes, Souk.com, Noon.com, yes,
Namshi, Wadi, the specialists. But what about the ones who are not specialists?
But those have been there for quite some time.
The traditional stores that are going online are the ones you want to look at.
The new ones coming out is, and I would just like to give one example, and I'm sorry, gentlemen, if I'm taking
you have 30 more seconds before we move on to
a competitor automotive brand last year decided to launch e-commerce. So
Nissan?
No, the competitor.
A competitor of Nissan.
I don't want to mention the brand name just out of respect to them.
Fine.
But a competitor, it's a multinational brand. They decided to start selling cars online. So I'm sitting there on a Friday evening. I go to their website and I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to do this. So after going through that and going through a live chat, it ends with, okay, we'll ask a sales consultant to get in touch with you.
Oh, what's the point of online if you're going to get
I wasted 40 minutes of my time after I browsed and I decided which car I want and all of that. And then you send me off to a sales consultant to re-explain to him all over again what exactly I'm looking for. So this is what I'm talking about.
This is terrible user experience. They lost the customer by that.
Absolutely.
They're not living up to the promise. When there's what Hussein is saying, when there's a buy button on a website, the buy button is a promise. It's a promise to deliver a service.
Expectation. See, you have to understand one thing. You could be selling a crap product, but the experience in which you're selling that product is brilliant, and you can be selling it in such a timely manner that I'm ready to pay an added value in order to get that product. So what I'm saying here is experience is the new product, and time is the new price.
Something for you guys to tweet.
Please keep this in mind.
Experience is the new product.
It's all about the experience.
All right, so moving on to Faris. Faris, listening to this conversation, living in the US all this time, what are you seeing on the side of working with entrepreneurs in this field? What are your comments on this whole transformation? And maybe bring the microphone a bit closer. What do you think of all of this?
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thank you. I think, and I've been lucky to actually work with with entrepreneurs in over 60 countries globally.
Many of them are e-commerce entrepreneurs, I assume.
Many of them are e-commerce,
okay.
And I would say, on an average, 1,000 entrepreneurs a year I get to speak with or listen to their stories and so on. And I work with the small and medium-sized businesses or startups, so maybe a little bit different than a large institution. So the experience might be a little bit different. And although website and e-commerce is important, many of them who had started with the e-commerce actually end up opening a retail store
They went backwards.
backwards.
They went
and
from online to offline,
offline, and I think
Okay.
Amazon is now following their suit.
which is a trend, isn't it, Anthony? You're seeing that. Offline stores. Yep.
There we go. You know,
Open the mics of all my panelists, sir.
the notion of shopping, it is not necessarily confined to a channel. You start online, you finish offline, you see it in the store, you buy it online. It's just shopping.
Yeah. This is the title of one of your articles I read. Said it's just shopping.
It's just shopping.
Another tweetable moment.
Well, I'd
Go
like
on
to add
fast.
to that actually. It's an experience. So to back, so it is shopping, but with an experience. And the reason why people want to go to a retail store, because they want to feel the experience. They want to feel it, and they want to live it. And it's kind of interesting because while the big retail stores may be suffering and now buying out smaller retail stores, including Macy's, they're buying stores that are maybe 1 or 7 stores around the country because they're looking for that retail experience. The smaller retail shops, mom and pop shops, I think doing amazingly and growing in a higher speed.
What's the trick? How are they growing, these mom and pop shops?
The customers are looking for an experience. Although
They're focused on what Hussein was talking about, the experience.
They might be looking around like most of people do. They shop around for a minute and then they want to go and touch it, feel it, talk to someone. And if you have a good experience in your store, most likely you're going to do really well.
So people will find you online and maybe visit you offline.
Yeah.
Or they will visit you offline and be happy and come back to you online. So it's all connected. For all the e-commerce entrepreneurs here, it's all one thing. Online and offline.
Can I use one example?
Yeah, you can jump in.
Getting the reviews from your friends, getting the reviews.
Word of
So-
mouth.
Right. So it's
Of course.
something which is
So this is part of the transformation. Okay, Faris, I'm going to come back to see your
One
transformation. I'm
story,
going to
just
come
one
back to you.
story. Yeah, one story.
Tell us a success story.
Well, one entrepreneur actually in the GCC area, he had a store online, and without mentioning names for privacy. And when he opened his retail store, his sales quadrupled. And then he decided, well, this is nice, but he was forced to leave the space because of leasing issues. And when he left, he thought, well, I could just pick it up again online and it should be fine. Sales went down.
It wasn't fine.
The online sales went down.
So this is hope for
because of
everybody
the-
who owns a store or owns a shop. Retail, physical retail is still important and valuable. Thank you, Faris. So the gentleman to my left. First of all, I'm going to talk to Ala about what this means for payments, and then George, you're going to evangelize to us how this has created an upheaval in IT. But hold that thought. Dr. Ala, what do you think of this from a mobile payments perspective? Because I know that mobile payments have gone very well in utilities, but Zain Cash and other such services, are you also facilitating all kinds of e-commerce payments? And what are you seeing from your side of the business?
Yeah, actually in Jordan and the Arab region, the e-commerce is growing. However, it's not to the expectations, and one of the main reasons for this is the lack or ability of people to pay online.
They are unable so far?
Unable to be, yeah.
Why is that?
Why is that? Two main reasons for this. The first one is the number of unbanked people.
Unbanked?
Yeah, in Jordan we have a lot of unbanked people. More than 58% of adults are unbanked.
My goodness, so only 44% of the people have a bank account?
Have a bank account, but not all of them can pay online.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, not all of them. They have like credit cards, debit cards, or prepaid cards, or even wallets to pay online. The others, and this is what we are doing. The other reason is the trust.
Trust.
And this goes to the culture. Do we trust to pay online? Is it safe? And from my personal experience, it's more safe to pay online than in cash, because paying online you can track back the operation and see what you have done. And another thing is that the e-commerce site or the marketplace, they have a responsibility to carry some of the risks of a fraud.
They're not carrying?
If they are large enough, they carry. If they are like entrepreneurs or still at early stage, I believe they have to put more validation and verification to avoid any fraud, because they cannot carry.
This is a problem we face because Zain has a lot of entrepreneurship initiatives.
Sure.
Through Zinc and through other.
Yeah.
And when you manage Zain Cash, you talk to a lot of small businesses. You talk to 1-person or 2-person companies who have started a store.
Exactly.
And that's difficult.
Exactly. In Zain Cash, actually, we see a lot of people registering for e-wallets. due to the unbanked or the high ratio of unbanked people. However, we are enabling them to pay online using their mobile wallets, as well as we are giving them prepaid cards. So if you are enabled to pay online and you trust the operation, things will be much better for e-commerce.
So tell us something about the bigger businesses also, Ala.
Yeah.
The bigger companies like, do you foresee, for example, the big stores, the big chains that will have an e-commerce operation, like the gentleman was saying, will they be using this kind of mobile payment service?
Actually, yes, because the mobiles in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates, the mobile penetration is very high. It's more than 80% of people.
If you don't serve mobile users, you will not sell.
Sorry?
You will not sell if you don't serve mobile users.
Exactly,
obviously.
exactly. The mobile penetration is more than 80% of people having smartphones even. So they are exploring and shopping and paying from their mobiles. If you don't offer this using your e-commerce, you are losing.
And just so people understand, there are payment gateways like Payfort. We had Omar Suddudi, who was supposed to be with us, but he couldn't be with us. They're a payment gateway. And then we have payment platforms.
Right.
You are a payment platform.
Right.
It's different from a gateway.
It's different. Yes.
Okay.
And this is, if I may say, this was a massively important development because the notion, when e-commerce was sort of first commercialized, it was designed by a software developer. It was not designed by somebody who cares about people, and it was governed by a banking industry that was very much set in the past. So the notion of a platform now that facilitates the exchange of currency of whatever kind, whether they're airplane, I may buy something from you, and at some point I'll give you my airplane points instead of cash, and you might be perfectly fine with
bartering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It should be
exactly.
possible because people want to do that. You should be able to facilitate what people want.
Right. Yeah.
And also, you have your marketplaces, right? Alibaba has written on their website in their terms of service that they cannot and will not validate the quality of what you're buying. eBay, on the other hand, has opened up third-party authentication services for some of their more expensive items because they were losing money. So you're starting to see that trust barrier be addressed at least by some players, but not the world's biggest player.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Ala. So, George, what does all of this mean from the security nightmare perspective? What have you been seeing in the Middle East as all these people have been going online and facing issues? Talk about that a little bit, and feel free to jump in at any time when the gentlemen are encroaching on your subject.
Sure. I think this whole e-commerce, it's really all about the data at the end of the day. We are producing much larger amounts of data, whether it's IoT, e-commerce, or otherwise, whether it's search online. And this data is actually driving personalization, so that the users feel more connected to the brands that they buy. But as we produce more data, of course, we expose ourselves to much larger risks than we were before.
Of course. This has been a big issue all over the news all this year, throughout this year.
Correct. So trust is obviously a key element to enable commerce.
As Ala said.
And it's actually a key element because the platforms and the technologies that we're still using today were not designed initially for e-commerce.
Also,
they were bolted on top of the internet.
Yeah.
So I think today there's obviously a ground swell that is trying to redesign how the internet is built up. Blockchain being one of them, but it's not the only one. So there's a multitude of technologies that is trying to make the internet a safer place to be. From the previous presenter, I think some key elements were quite important. The importance of identity, because on the internet, you don't know who you are or who you're transacting to. So it creates a relationship problem that needs to be addressed. But beyond that, there's many other elements that IT obviously plays an important aspect. IT gives you agility. IT gives you the capability to move faster. We mentioned obviously companies like Amazon. If you look at a company like Amazon has only been profitable one quarter. Why is it still the largest company? Why? Because they're capturing and growing customers extremely fast.
Through data and through infrastructure.
Exactly. So IT and cloud and all these components allow you as an organization to compete in a completely different way. But IT also enables organizations to compete in areas you do not expect. Earlier you mentioned about Alibaba. Alibaba is not just an e-commerce organization. Alibaba also became the largest bank overnight.
Why is that? How are they the largest bank?
Because they're able to have payment systems automatically built in. So if you go to a place like China, which I visit about 4 or 6 times a year, cash has disappeared
Really?
from society.
Yeah.
Everybody
One of the most
pays
advanced
by-
countries in that.
Everybody pays by QR codes.
Wow.
To the taxi, shopping is a completely different experience.
You felt that they were even more advanced. Sorry, Ala, before we come to you. So you're saying that these are a lot of IT professionals here, a lot of people who are in systems and in processes. You're saying that IT plays a very important role, but there is a need for redesign from the ground up.
So IT is good at speeding up things, but you as business professionals, not just IT professionals, need to redesign the business. If you're trying to optimize the current mess, you're just making it faster.
Now that's something for
you need
Twitter.
to transform.
Let's not
I think-
optimize the
I
current mess. Let's retransform the IT.
I think what's
sorry,
happening-
Hussein, I'm just going to let Ala comment and then you can come in.
Yeah, there's another thing that we need to add here.
Ala, bring
is-
the mic closer, please.
Sorry.
Yes.
Another thing that we need to add here is to balance between making payment simple, easy for people, while keeping it secure and validated. So this is a balance that you need also to consider.
George, this is the problem. Making this shift while keeping both secure and simple is not easy.
Yeah.
It's about usability versus security. If you make too much security, it becomes unusable. So you need to have this balance. It's like if you force people to change passwords every 5 minutes.
Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody will use this system.
I haven't changed my password in 3 years if anyone wants to hack me. So, Hussein, go on.
I just think another thing that's hindering the progress of it is and honestly, George, I would like your input on this. On the business side and the IT side or ISIT side, they communicate. There is a major gap happening between both of them.
There's a
So each
communication
one-
gulf.
There is a silo, so each one of them is working in a silo, and this is what's hindering things to progress. Because ISIT are looking at things from the security side of things, from what technologies to use, whereas the business side of things is looking at, okay, we want to move fast, we want to
sell, we want to build.
exactly, and this is where until they start working as one unit, the progress will be very slow. It will become a test and learn.
Is the solution to create a new position inside companies? The IT business bridger person? I mean,
One of my clients
What do
now
you do
though,
about
has
this?
a chief marketing officer, a chief information officer, and a chief digital officer.
Okay.
Transformation. Transformation.
What about the
There
skills
is a
for
chief
that?
transformation officer rising a lot inside.
Is there something now called chief transformation officer?
Yes. Yes.
Now that's competing with your CTO title, but that's technology. Maybe you're double T, George. Your transformation and technology.
It's transformation via technology, via business
exactly.
combined together.
Anybody want to use that title on their card? This is where you heard it first. Thanks, Hussein. What do you think about the skill sets required for all of this?
Well, I think as we see these things keep developing, and you see the market flooding with different languages to program these e-commerces, I think there is a big shortage globally.
Globally, even in the US, you have these shortages.
Including in the US and other areas. In Detroit specifically, there are many organizations that now focus on helping people get to learn new coding languages and help them get placed. One successful organization has been placing almost at 98% graduation rate that get placed. So 98% of the people that graduate get placed.
There have to be initiatives to train people and place them in the right places. But what about adding the skills, the other management skills, like how to communicate within the organization? You see, that's the problem. Because you're a skill set professional and you've done a lot of training. I'm sure a lot of companies are crying out for this.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big shortage, and we hear it all the time from the entrepreneurs that we work with, the small businesses and medium-sized businesses, as well as some of the larger ones. There's a shortage, and there are many incentives that I see globally from universities, from government, from the community, trying to really bridge this gap of talent.
So Faris, I'm just going to talk to the audience. Do we have a shortage of coders who understand business here in Jordan, you think? Anybody? You think so, right? We're going to come to you and talk about this in a minute. So this is the problem. We're not teaching coding and business at the same time. We're not teaching how to bridge the gaps. Ala, you want to make a comment about this? By the way, just before Ala speaks, it's interesting because this discussion is going well. They've merged my two questions. My first question ended and my second question immediately came in. So we're on time. Tafadhal, Ala.
Yeah, actually, one of the main things that people use to use the e-commerce is the user experience. How was it easy for them to buy? How was it simple for them to buy? And what's the customer support? So user experience was very, very important for them to use and to buy online. And I think the shortage here comes in our region is to ensure or to code the e-commerce site to be easy and simple, while it has a variety of options. And this is a challenge by itself.
User experience and usability, I guess.
Yeah.
I think there's a term for that. What do you think, George?
I think also we have to approach things in a completely different way. We're still looking always at organizations that you have to do everything yourself. You have to not be afraid to outsource. See, you have to understand that today you cannot be good at everything.
Yeah.
Maybe what you are good is a brand. So you have to have an ecosystem of partners, whether it's payment partners, telecom
Maybe even
partners,
consultants, like Anthony
coding
does
partners that
consulting.
enable you to deliver the overall solution. So when you try to do everything yourself, it's going to slow you down.
Yep, it'll suffer.
You should be open to the ecosystem. Okay, so this is like a melange now. I had a question about challenges and obstacles we face. You mentioned some of them. Anybody have other comments about challenges and obstacles we face in this redefined era of e-commerce? Before I go on to my last point.
So I think e-commerce is the notion of e-commerce, and I really just prefer to refer to it as just, again, shopping. The notion of the way people behave today is what is driving a lot of challenge for businesses, brands, retailers, everybody, because consumers in general, each of us are moving so much faster in our personal lives than we are in our work lives. And I think that one of the big challenges that businesses are finding out right now is that whereas before your siloed departments worked just fine, IT was over there doing IT things and supply chain was over here doing supply chain kinds of things. Now if marketing wants to introduce a new digitally enabled shopping opportunity, they have to have supply chain on board too.
Yes.
They have to have IT on board too, and they have to get the ad agency on board as well. And now you have all of these different aspects of the company's day-to-day business that are forced to come together, and the companies are generally not organized that way. This is where you have an Amazon that's able to grow so quickly because they were organized from the bottom up as a software company. Amazon is not a retailer. Amazon is a software company that sells things.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference because Walmart, in Kantar's list of the 50 largest retailers in the world, Walmart is number one, which is funny because Alibaba is $40 billion larger than Walmart, but they're not on the list because they're thought of as being a marketplace. So what has to change?
Who's a retailer? Who's a marketplace? We're trying to figure out, to define.
Consumers don't
redefine.
seem to care. Consumers are buying a lot of stuff on Alibaba. I would suggest that maybe they should be on that list.
All right,
Yeah.
so go on.
It's all not actually one of the challenges. Challenge is when you go to the in-store experience is different. When you go to store, some people just like to go shopping. I'm not talking about females. Some people
Browsing.
Some people are they like to go shopping.
Be careful, Ala. We don't have a female on this panel. And
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the tweet where somebody will say something about that.
Yeah.
And now you're making comments.
Yeah, but when they go in store, they touch things, they feel it, they try it. If they are buying some, like a t-shirt, how does it fit on me?
Customers need that.
Yeah, so this is different than buying something online. And this is a challenge. So for e-commerce sites, if they need to sell something in which you cannot try, then they have to have a way to refund and return it easy. So if I need to buy something, I bought a perfume, it doesn't smell well. I need to send it back.
After you've opened it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
So this is a challenge. However, they have to accept that.
To grow.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. So moving on, we want to talk about some of the latest technologies and trends and the big changes that are happening. And maybe everybody can talk from their experience. For example, Hussein can tell us maybe about the automotive industry. What are the big changes happening there in delivery, in logistics, in security? What blockchain? Depending on you, George, to explain to us how blockchain is going to solve our problem. I hope it does. So I'm going to start off with Hussein, and then I'll go around. So Hussein, tell us what kind of challenge. So what kind of trends and technologies are emerging now to help you succeed? And maybe apply to the automotive industry. You're running Nissan.
The automotive industry by itself is a trend with what's happening in there.
Yes.
Because a lot of things are changing. And I mean, buying a car is the second biggest investment that you do in your life after buying a house.
There's the house, then there's the car.
Yeah.
In the Arab world, it's marriage is somewhere in between them. but anyway.
So imagine yourself going and buying a car online.
Wait a minute, George, you want to jump in?
But some people are changing the rules of the game. In places like Dubai, you don't need to buy a car. You can rent one And I'm not talking about Uber. You have things like
You know,
e-car.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
pay
yeah.
by the minute.
You
For a
drive
ride,
all
to
of
take a
those.
ride. Okay, good point. Go on.
So I'm just going to give an example of what we do. You were talking about how do we go about those changes before
How are you going to
were
sell your
asking.
cars?
And what we do is at Nissan, we do a lot of stuff called MVPs, so minimum viable products. So where we test out things in markets. So what we did is we just launched in India now Ecommerce for Nissan and Datsun cars, and we did it with, just like George was saying, some things we can do them on our own. Other stuff, let's get the experts out there to help us out and do it with them. So we partnered with 3 companies. One of them obviously is Amazon, which Amazon is moving within its automotive vertical really fast. So Hyundai, for instance, opened with them a virtual showroom. So you go to amazon.com/Hyundai and you'll find
Amazing.
And
You could buy your next car on Amazon.
So we partnered with Amazon on the sales side and after sales side. So from a sales side, you can actually book a car. After sales side, if you want to buy accessories, you'll buy it from it, and it gets shipped to the dealer who you want them to apply this product or this item on your
Outsourcing
car.
companies handling that, saying they're handling the logistics of that.
Sorry?
Outsourced.
Amazon handles
And
all of that.
fulfillment. They call it
Yeah.
fulfillment. Yes.
Another one, just like George was saying, is called subscription model. So
Okay.
what we do is you subscribe. So we partnered with a company called Rev, and it's a startup company in India, and you subscribe to the car, and so you pay either a monthly fee or a daily fee, and you can decide to choose whichever car you want.
It's like a rental, like a new age
Yeah.
rental 2.0
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we took it even to the next level with those guys. So I don't know how many of you have been to India, but India is like a huge continent on its own.
Yeah,
It's
India
like
is its own
49
world.
countries. So we don't have dealers in all of India. So in the areas where we don't have dealers, Rev is taking it on its own to actually do the test drives, respond to customers, and all the way to locking the deal. So they're
This is
acting
marketing,
as
Hassan,
our,
because they end up marketing the Nissan brand.
Exactly.
When people want to buy,
Yeah.
they go and buy it from the store because they tried it.
Absolutely.
Try before you buy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the
You know,
third-
you should hire me to join your Nissan marketing team. I'm just kidding. Go on.
The third thing which we did is with a company called CarDeco, one of the biggest companies, auto portals in India, where exactly like with Hyundai, what Hyundai and Amazon did, but we did it with CarDeco, because CarDeco have a huge volume of people. And the way we worked with them is once somebody requests for a test drive, they act as our call center, so they call the people, they validate all the way till buying the car, which can happen online as well. So this is just an example of showing you what's happening out there. Now,
Guaranteeing the experience. This is to your point that it's important to guarantee the good experience.
Absolutely.
Through these people who are the customer service who take care of everything on your behalf.
Absolutely.
All
No,
right.
no, this is one part of it. The second part is we've got connected cars in India. So through my app right now, I can turn on my car, turn it off, so on and so forth. But I can book a service for my car, and I can buy accessories for my car through an app.
Imagine
And
that.
that's what makes it super interesting.
Imagine that.
The last bit which I want to talk about is the online-offline divide. So if you look at what Tesla did a couple of years ago, we're moving into that, is where we will have a one-car showroom inside the mall. So consumers are already inside the mall. They will get to feel the car. So you'll put your flagship car over there, but you will give the people an opportunity to actually buy the car while
In a
they're-
customized way.
in a customized way through a tablet, which we call dealer digital tool.
Dealer, what do you call the tablet?
Dealer digital tool.
Dealer digital tool.
Yeah.
You equip your people
Exactly.
with it. Interesting. So this is Tesla is the great example that Hussein just mentioned.
So-
you get to see the car, you get to sit in it, but when you order it, you can order all kinds of other things, different color, different.
I
model.
ask you, don't stay away from the automotive industry. It's changing very, very fast. So keep visiting dealers, keep seeing what's out there. It's actually really, really a new industry that's opening up so wide.
So this is the automotive expert advice. Pay attention to what's happening in the automotive industry. You have many more options than you think, and you should explore them all. George, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to add 2 complete extremes again on the car.
Okay,
Just-
and also pack in something about the trends that you're seeing.
So on the car, interestingly enough, today in Dubai, you can rent the car by the minute. So this changes completely the rules of the game. That means you no longer need to worry about insurance. You no longer need to worry about fueling. You just unlock it with your
Just
car
easy,
and you
just so
drive.
much easier.
And you leave the car where you stop. On the other extreme, you have in China where you actually have a car vending machine.
Car vending machine.
Yes.
How does that work? You stand, you put money in, and
Yes.
you get a car.
The car
You get a
show-
list of cars. My goodness, that's crazy.
So you have-
But it's a reality.
Correct.
Faris, you wanted to say something about this trend?
Well,
these
I mean,
trends?
in Detroit, Ford actually in Europe changed their name to Ford Mobility Company.
For mobility.
So the whole idea of a car is actually changing to be more mobility. And on the streets now, you no longer just only see cars that you could rent by the minute, but also bicycles, scooters, and hoverboards, and all kinds of other things that you could really rent for the day or for the
Vehicles,
week.
basically, all kinds of vehicles that give you mobility.
Mobility. It's all
And you
about
can rent them for
mobility.
a day or for several hours, or that's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
Exactly. So I think the whole thing is shifting. I just wanted to bring that up.
I just
You
want to
can
add,
elaborate
so
on it.
if you want to talk in general about the automotive trends, what's happening out there, so one, you've got electric cars coming in. Second one is connected mobility, and this is what we call Nissan Intelligent Mobility, where your car is actually talking to another car. And those two cars are telling each other, for instance, don't take that road. There's a lot of traffic here, so take
Cars
another
advising
road.
each other. Okay. All right.
All the e-commerce in a way. That's all. It's all tying up to the e-commerce.
And you
because
can
you're doing
start
this from
you can start buying things in your car, apparently. With your car screen, you can log into your favorite e-commerce site or payment utility. You can pay your just like with a
I'm
mobile.
coming into that. So with the Nissan Connect, which is the connectivity in India, for instance, you go to a petrol station and you will be able, it's still not there, but you will be able to pay for your fuel through your car, through the app.
Imagine that.
So it is changing fast.
Imagine that. Okay, so George, what do you think? Let's talk about the security and the back-end aspect of all this. Is blockchain going to facilitate the unbanked and the untrusted? And where are we in the Middle East in this now?
Well, in the Middle East, I think we're a little bit behind in blockchain. I think there's a movement, at least temporarily, to try to slow it down because people don't understand it, and existing infrastructure and banks
Does not support it.
They're not necessarily ready for it. So since there's not always regulations, or the regulations take a longer time to mature, but whether you move or not,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's several governments that are doing things in an innovative way. One example is Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. They've created the concept of the sandbox. And the idea is, let's experiment with a new technology. Let's try it out for 1 year or 2 years, and then we pass the regulations that should be correct to go along with this technology.
So by sandbox, you mean they try it in a limited way, in a
Yes.
limited space.
Correct. But
All
you
right.
allow the new joint ventures, or you allow the startups, which is the companies that you have outside, to actually come and deliver their innovative ways,
Yes.
their transformation, and you give them a chance to succeed. So if at the end they succeed, then you pass the necessary legislation to enable them to operate like normal businesses.
And you're seeing this already in the UAE.
UAE, Bahrain, and a few other countries.
Maybe
will
we'll see
follow
it in
suit.
Jordan, the sandbox approach to regulation. We are quite advanced in fintech regulation, but I don't know exactly where we are on that idea. So there are other trends that are arising in e-commerce, things like visual search. I was reading about it the other day. Voice search. Anybody would like to comment about that? Anthony, what do you think of visual search and voice search?
Well, I mean,
and then maybe Hussein is excited already about it.
Yeah,
because he can see it's important.
Well, and we saw in some of the earlier presentations, voice search is going to take over because who wants to type on this when you can just say it? And so the challenge is going to be, like in the UK, for instance, a woman may ask for a jogger, a trainer, and a runner. Okay, and in the UK, she would be asking for a shoe. But if she was an American woman, she would be looking for a baby stroller that she could run with, a man to help her do push-ups,
What are the
and a shoe.
keywords? What are the complex? It's complex
It's
voice
not,
words. not
What it
keywords.
is, it's all context.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to come down to the personalization aspect of it. Is the voice, the future of search is going to have to be about context, and whether that's voice or visual or typing, it's going to have to deliver something where it's not just about the search engine or the search appliance is giving you back what it thinks you're asking for. It's actually
Has to give you
understanding.
back what you
here's
want.
what you're going for.
Yes. So this is important because search powers commerce. People, they start any buying behavior. The first buying behavior is you search for what you want to buy for more information. Go on, George, and let's talk about image search also in a minute.
Okay, I think in image search, artificial intelligence or machine learning plays an extremely important role.
AI is big.
So today, now you have mobile apps. You can see somebody on the street, you take a picture, and you say, show me something that looks like these clothes. Where can I go buy it, and where I can get it for?
Are you
brand.
all understanding? Image search is you stand in a store, you take a photo of a shirt, and then they will tell you this shirt is a shirt by, I don't know, by Polo Ralph Lauren. It's a brand name and it's color and similar. They also give you similar products, right? So that's image search. Just click of a photo. So you are excited by it, aren't you? It's very.
So AI is actually playing an important role, not just in machine learning for photo, but also for voice as well.
Yes.
Because you need to understand multiple languages. Another big trend I think is happening as well to better the user experience is the concept known as edge computing. So that means because we're dealing with large amounts of information, we cannot send that information via the traditional networks to the big data centers. So we need to move the computing closer to where the user is actually performing the search.
What's it called?
Edge computing.
Edge computing, at the edge of where the service is being offered.
Correct. So you don't
Okay.
so for example, things like voice recognition today can be done on the mobile itself instead of today like Alexa or others need to be sent back to the data center.
Has anybody ever heard of edge computing before here? Okay, so a couple of people. So that's the idea behind these panels. All right. So Hussein, you wanted to say something about search?
No, it's. I wouldn't say it's more. So, yeah, everybody's putting out their percentages about how much voice is going to play a big role in search.
Order me a pizza, Alexa.
I think they want people to believe that voice is going to play a very big role in search.
You don't think it's still big?
Well, I would say there are a lot of roadblocks to be able to overcome.
That Anthony was mentioning, that George was mentioning, languages, intelligence.
Yes. Would we be able to? Yes, we are. So my doubt is not about whether voice is going to become important. It's the time it's going to take for it to come into. But for now, what voice is doing is the role that voice is playing when it comes to you getting using your voice in order to control some of the services.
Convenience.
So smart homes, people are using this the sorts of Alexa or Google Assistant or so on and so forth. From an automotive perspective, we're taking this to the next level in being able to control our car. So we started this in the US, where with Alexa you can ask the car to turn it on, turn it off, lock the doors, open the trunk, so on and so forth. So yes, it is moving in that direction.
All right.
What's hindering it? Sorry about this.
Because then we have about 1 minute to listen to Faris. Then I'm going to take 3 questions.
What's hindering it in the MENA region? So we've got Amazon here, but still, Alexa, for instance, you can hardly do anything with Alexa in the MENA region. So we're still waiting for Amazon to basically facilitate the usage of Alexa here.
To put in the infrastructure, to build it from the ground up, as you were saying that, like Amazon builds everything from the ground up. Faris, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'm going to just do it in maybe 30 seconds. So one is really the voice is actually vital because beyond the car and the shopping, it actually goes to even commercing of buying a vacation. So if you say vacation and it's Thursday evening, then that means you want to go on vacation 2 weeks from now, and then you would like to go for a week. And then the results will be just for that. And if you say vacation, if it's Monday, then that means you're going to go on vacation this weekend.
Yeah. Imagine the big data required for all of this, the big data in the back end to give you the vacation price now and the vacation price in 2 weeks and the availability.
Yeah. So the second thing I want to say, although e-commerce is exciting, reality is unfortunately till today it's only 15% of total revenue of products being purchased. So it's in one way be real about. You want these things to work together, like you said, Anthony, right? You want your website to work with your store and all these things to work together. But the reality is only 15% of retail is coming from those e-commerces.
So this is a reality check by Faris, that e-commerce is still not even, there's 85% of buying and selling happening offline. Yeah. But maybe supported by online research. That's your point. It's all shopping.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's But 100%
I like it when
of your
my
life is
panelists
through your phone.
disagree. I really like it.
But
Yeah, you were
it's
saying.
really
So that,
unless you attribute.
I'm going to have to hold your horses, gentlemen. We have to take 3 questions here.
No, but unless you
okay,
attribute.
quick one. Hussein and quick one, George.
Unless you attribute the cash on delivery as part of e-commerce or not. So that's
COD.
something which is quite important.
COD is delivery through, you order online. Maybe, if you count that in, maybe it goes up to 20%, 30%. George, you wanted to say something? I told you to jump in any time.
Yeah, no
I'm now
problem.
regretting it.
But I still would like to reiterate something I mentioned earlier. It's all about the data. You ever notice that sometimes you go on one site, you do a search, or you receive an email, or you do some other activity online, and notice what happens. You start getting all these requests,
they're spying
whether
on
it's
you.
in your mobile app or other, that relates to something that, where did they found
it's
this about me?
retargeting, the wonderful
And,
word of
and it
retargeting.
follows you around.
Yes.
No matter what you do, it just shows up when
Which-
you don't expect.
Which means that the numbers will increase from 15% because they're just going to keep hounding
No,
you to
they're
buy.
bigger. It's just today people think that everything is online. No, it's an hybrid. It's a multimodal system.
Exactly.
It just follows you around. One interesting aspect that was done was about, for example, Facebook. People were complaining that Facebook is tracking people that are not even on Facebook.
That's
They
right.
know about their phone numbers, they know about their behaviors, they know about their relationships. So everything is about monetizing that data.
Yes, and through making you buy more stuff. So I can take maybe 2 questions or 2 comments. Looks like we don't have any, actually, maybe one over there.
There's one.
Okay, because the gentlemen here have covered it very well, so I guess it's okay. If we have a question over there, microphone in hand, please. Is there anyone closer? 2. These are the 2 I'm going to take. You can, maybe I can hear you. أعطونا ميكروفون للصبية. 4th row. ورا ريم. Okay, يلا. Do you have a microphone? والله? All right, you know what? Ask your question, and I will repeat it. And please introduce yourself and tell me who you are directing it to.
Thank you. My name is Samah. Okay, I'm working with the United Nations. I just want to back to the point when you say about when you are able to buy things from your car. Strategically speaking, the car is designed for driving purpose. So, is there any?
It was just a general passing comment. I don't think Nissan probably they support safe driving. This is your point.
I'm just asking if there's any security issues or other risks related to it. So I don't think it's
practical.
It's a needed thing, yeah. Because I see today there is a lot of initiatives to apply technology with many things, but when you go to the need of it, you see that it's not related directly or fit to the...
Thank you for your question. Good point. Maybe there should be a limit to technology. Thank you very much. تفضل حسين, hit that out of the park if you can.
The car of today is meant for the driving. The car of the future is meant to be, you sit there and I could sit with Anthony and have a cup of coffee and the car is driving us.
It's self-driving you.
And it's self-driving. I could be watching a movie, I could be talking to Anthony, I could be sleeping.
Buying stuff.
This is whether...
Proposing to his future wife.
It's not something that we are driving as Nissan, it's something which the whole automotive industry is heading towards.
All right.
So Tesla, VW, Nissan, General Motors, Toyota, everybody is going towards that.
Okay. Thank you, Hussein. Second question. The mic, you have the mic yet? يلا وين المايك؟ ليش عم بنقل بسرعة؟ Where are the event management guys? دكتور هلا بجيك. يلا. Quick mic drop. I can jump off stage, you know. I am mobile. وقف stand up. عرف نفسك. Okay. Okay. Amman municipality. That's going to be interesting.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
We have a good cooperation with the Zen Cash, and thank you because they embed our parking application in their in the e-wallet application.
So we can make more revenue for Amman municipality.
Yes, of
Bravo.
course. But my question, I opened my e-wallet from Zen Cash. It was astonishing experience. It was very fast, very easy. But they gave me the debit card. So every time I use the debit card, I don't use the mobile app for the e-wallet. So it's kind of conflict or contradiction.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are encouraging the people to use the e-wallet using the mobile app, and you are really targeting the users, the customers.
Okay.
But I found really that you are not targeting the merchants, which is very important, and you gave us a debit card. Can you explain?
Okay, thank you for your question and comment. Ala, you
Yeah,
can
okay.
answer this briefly.
The prepaid card is connected with the e-wallet. It's a supplementary thing. However, we encourage people to pay using their mobile wallets, but in some e-commerce sites and some online business, they are not yet integrated to the payment gateway, which is Jomo Pay here in Jordan. So the ones that are integrated, you just enter your mobile number with one-time password OTP. But for the ones that they don't have this ability, so you can use your prepaid card. So this is a supplementary thing. We encourage you to use the mobile wallet. However, this is something that's to enable you to pay using
Your bank has to be part of Jomo Pay, your bank or your financial transaction company. I mean, so the problem is with his bank. His bank is the problem,
No,
or
no, there's no problem. We just give more options for him to pay using mobile wallets or prepaid cards, and this is just to make it easy for you to use the mobile.
بدي الميكروفون هون عندنا. Thank you عنا. الأستاذ آخر سؤال اليوم.
Engineer Khattab Omar, President and CEO of America Computer Group. My question is how you gain the trust and confidence of your visitors to your platform as what they see, actual what they buy.
لأنه what they see is actually what they buy. مش يشتروا شغلة ends up being something else.
Yes.
All right, that's a good question. And I don't know which one of you gentlemen would like to take this one.
Well,
George,
I can start because there's a little bit of
because you face these problems.
Yeah, because this is where the trust in a brand and the trust in a retailer serves as that sort of tie that will bring you closer to your product, where you know this is a retailer that only sells items that are originally for sale by the brand, right? Amazon has a notion of being a first-party seller, which means that Amazon is acting as a retailer, or they have their marketplace where there are other people selling through Amazon, and there becomes a little bit of a confusion in there. And you have instances of companies setting up fraudulent Amazon marketplace stores. And companies like Amazon, like Mercado Libre in Brazil, like Jumia in Africa, they have a no takedown policy. So if a brand finds that there's somebody that's selling counterfeit goods, you can send them a nasty letter, but the platform will not take them down.
Yeah,
so you're asking the right question.
You're asking, it depends on the platform you're working with. Some of them will protect you, some of them will not. George, quick answer, because then we're going to wrap up with an advice.
I think two key elements here are important. One is transparency and the other one is trust. I think the two combined together can achieve what you're looking for. And this can only be done if you apply technologies that enable that. Blockchain is one of these technologies, but it's not the only technology.
But it's one of the options. Ala, very briefly, very quickly.
One thing, 90% of people last year, before they make the purchase, they review the feedback from others.
Reviews.
And this is very important. However, 60% only of people make a review or a feedback. So this feedback is very important to build the trust and to make sure that you are serving the client well. If I see something that has very bad rating, I will not buy from this e-commerce.
So Ala is encouraging content creation. He's saying that everybody should review for the help to help others. So to wrap up, I had originally thought that maybe you'd like to deliver some general words of advice. You gave a lot of advice over the last hour or so. So I'm not exactly sure, but anybody have like a closing remark? Any one of you would like to make a quick closing remark? Or, quick, something quick.
From my end, is
like a 10-second remark, Hussein, if that's possible.
From my end, I would just say you have to keep the regardless of what your business objectives are, you have to put the consumer at the heart of everything that you're doing and ensure that the experience is seamless across. So it's not only about sales, it's about the after sales. It's not about only selling, it's about the customer service. You got to make sure the loophole is 360.
Put the consumer in the middle and build everything around him. Anybody else have a
And data is the fuel that drives that. You build consumer experiences by using data, and then those consumer experiences throw off more data, which you then use to build even better experiences. So data becomes like the perfect fuel.
So that's building on what Hussein said. George?
I think you need to have a platform that enables trust. You also need to have a lot of focus on the user experience. And I think the last important point I'd like to add is don't try to do everything yourself. Surround yourself with the right ecosystem of partners
And specialists.
so that you
Yeah.
can succeed faster and better.
Our time is out, but I'm going to let Ala comment and Faris comment because everybody's enjoying this so much, aren't you? Great. Yalla Ala.
E-commerce is like a journey starting from offering variety of things and make it easy for people, having a good user experience, getting or enabling people to pay in different ways, and delivering in a fast way, a simple way, and accept refund.
Accept refund, okay.
I'm going to just say one word, start. Don't wait till it's perfect and just keep modifying it as you go, because otherwise you'll never start if you try to make it perfect.
Start, push it out of the door and start.
Start now.
Wonderful. So I want to thank George, Ala, Anthony, Hussein, and Faris. Let's give them all a round of applause.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think we also need to say thank you to Mr. Moderator as well. Big round of applause for Zaid as well. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this panel, everyone. Now, what's next? Lunch?
Absolutely.
Okay, yalla. Peter, on your behalf, everyone go eat.
That's right, everybody go eat. But before you do, just remember, back here at 3 o'clock. Back here at 3 o'clock for the next session.
Let's take a photo.
All about Arab content in an Arab world.